This is Vermont Edition. I'm Michaela Lafrac. Now that we have cell phones that can save endless contacts, I rarely learn a new phone number. The only ones I actually know by heart are my house that I grew up in, my own, my husband's, a couple childhood friends, and the car donation organization Cars for Kids. Let me see if you know this one. 1877 Cars for Kids. Anyone? Well, it played all the time on TV and the radio when I was a kid, and the fact that I still know the tune and that phone number is the mark of a good jingle. That is what we are going to be talking about on today's show. We'll be celebrating the jingles from our region that have wormed their way into our brains over the decades. Throughout this hour, we hope you will call or write in to tell us about your favorite local jingle and the memories it brings up. Maybe you'll even sing a little bit for us, even if you have a bad voice like I do. You can call in at 800-639-2211 or email vermontedition@vermontpublic.org. Let's kick things off with a local jingle for Pizza Putt. It was a beloved family entertainment center with a mini golf course, laser tag, and pizza, obviously, in South Burlington that closed a few years back.
Pizza Putt, like to play, like to have fun. Pizza Putt has yours, Vermont's premier family entertainment center. The most fun you can have indoors. Now is the when, fun is the what, who is the who, the where is Pizza Putt, where Vermont comes into play.
It's so catchy, right? If you remember that tune, please call in at 800-639-2211. In just a moment, we're going to be joined by the writer of that Pizza Putt jingle and many others, Cary Reich. We are working on connecting with him again now. I want to play one other clip, though, for our second guest. This song is for Elk Mountain in Pennsylvania, but it features former Vermont State Senator Dick McCormick. He's playing the boss.
We're the place to go. We've got the snow, and there is only one thing else you've gotta know. We're the best darn mountain in the USA.
Hi, this is Walt, the marketing guy from Elk Mountain, and I'm really sorry about the cheesy jingle, but my boss told me...
At Elk, we put everything into the mountain, not into fancy radio ads.
And I said, but how do I tell people that Elk Mountain is like skiing in Vermont without the drive? And he said...
You're the marketing guy, you handle it.
Elk Mountain is like skiing in Vermont without the drive.
I'm really sorry about this.
I'm not. I love that one. That jingle was composed by our guest, Jim Giberty. He's the president and creative director of the Imagination Company in Bethel, where they do branding work. Jim, welcome.
Thank you, Michaela.
We're so glad to have you. What do you remember about writing that ad? It makes me laugh every time I hear it.
Well, we had done a number of schmaltzy jingles. But I created my initial career with schmaltzy jingles. And so when we moved up here almost 40 years ago and built the Imagination Company, I was close friends with Dick McCormick. And I wanted to write something, an ode to schmaltzy jingles. So that was it.
What's the line between an ode to a schmaltzy jingle and just writing a schmaltzy jingle? Does it ever get blurred for you?
Well, if you have the Lobster Claw jingle that you play, that's kind of classic. I had Patty Larkin, who's one of the great singer-songwriters, recording artists of our generation, singing with me on that, and Michael Garvin from the Boston Jazz Quartet. In this particular instance, we weren't doing jingles any longer, and I pulled literally our receptionist, Stephanie Van Vlack, who's actually now a Broadway singer and actress, and she came into the studio with me, and we just banged that out after I had put the music all together.
All right, yeah, let's take a listen to that one. This is a jingle for the Lobster Claw in Cape Cod.
The Cape in the summer is magic. The sun in the sea and the wind on the shore. These days are made for families. That's what we're here for. At the Lobster Claw restaurant, great dining by the sea. At the Lobster Claw restaurant, We're one big family.
Oh my God, it's never going to leave my mind, is it? They're so fun. They just bring a smile to your face, right, Jim?
Well, I literally have. This was in my past, and I've given my apologies to countless people for earworms, and so talking to John Aaron, one of the producer, he and I went back and forth about this a few different conversations. So I finally last week went on for the first time in 35 years and searched, and I Googled, and I could not believe the Reddit. I found a Reddit conversation where people, one after the other, someone wrote the first line, then the next line, then someone else came on the next line. And I'm like, oh my God, these people actually do. I did my job. I created the schmaltzy jingle. It was my first jingle. And literally, so that was Patty Larkin on vocals with me.
She has a beautiful voice.
Oh my God, Patty's kind of a legend. And so anyway, I was approached by this man who said there was a jingle called the Thompson's Clam Bar, and it was like a 50s big band jingle. And he said, if I want you to do a jingle that people will be talking about and remembering 30, 40 years from now. And so I went online, and all these people, and there were articles about it, and I was like, holy cow, I guess I lived up to my promise.
Well, I hope you are very proud of this body of work. I can't wait to dive into more of it with you today. But before we do, I want to introduce our second guest who we've connected with now, Cary Reich. He's a Florida-based jingle writer and the owner of Sound Branding Ideas. And he's written jingles for local businesses all around the country, including ones right here in our region, like that Pizza Putt one that we heard a couple minutes ago. Cary, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're so glad to have you. So tell us about the Pizza Putt jingle. What do you remember about writing it?
So basically, I remember sitting down having a conversation, like all my campaigns start with a conversation with the client, much like you just heard. And what we do is we kind of get a feel for what's their unique selling proposition? What makes them unique? What do we want to be the main catchphrase that people are going to remember? And we kind of talk about what's unique and different because there's lots of different places you can go for entertainment. And then we also try to talk a little bit about what kind of music, what feel, what energy are we looking for. And then what we do, which is actually kind of fun, is I'm a guy that likes to do things right when people have shared with me what they're looking for. So in this particular case, I was with a media partner. They take a tour. I kind of try to select some music that I think fits what they're trying to do and who they're trying to target, put some lyrics together, and they come back and I actually sing live so they can hear what the idea and the concept and the campaign will sound like. Albeit it's just me, so they have to put up with that initially. Once in a very blue moon, I actually might record, but it's never about me, and especially when I'm working with one of the media companies, as you mentioned, the different local markets all over the country, I want to make sure that we provide a lot of variety and different styles, sounds, both musically and vocally. And so that's part of the process is to make sure that we're doing that as well, so that we get something that is sticky and catchy and they're going to remember. Ideally, like the lobster jingle. You want something that's going to be memorable and lasting for a long time.
Yeah, sometimes even after these businesses are gone. I mean, Pizza Putt closed, I think, in 2019, and we still had lots of folks writing into today's show saying, you got to play that one. We remember it so well.
Well, good to know. Sorry, by the way, full disclosure, I think that was far enough after I wrote it that I don't think I can be blamed.
We'll see. Let's go to our phones here. And listeners, if this is bringing up a memory of a local jingle for you, give us a call at 800-639-2211. Or maybe you've tried your hand at writing one yourself. Let's go first to Linda, who's in Barrie. Linda, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hi there. My favorite jingle is the Mackenzie jingle, and it's on, Mackenzie meats, sausage, bacon, and stuff. And if you want, I can give you a few bars of it. I am
Yes,
not the world's
please.
best singer.
Please.
It's old John Mackenzie was a dedicated man. He made the best pork sausage in all the land. John told his boys, both clear and loud, carry on the name and you'll be proud.
That was beautiful and very
goodness.
brave, Linda. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, let Linda inspire you. Call in and tell us or sing us your favorite jingle, 800-639-2211. Now, I'm curious if either of our guests is familiar with that Mackenzie jingle or has any ideas about what's made it stick in Linda's head for so long. Jim?
I love it actually. And Linda, please contact me at the Imagination Company. We could use you. But I really think that this. I was surprised how much it resonated. Like I said, when I got online and actually searched, and I had people actually writing and talking and remembering all of these lyrics, and I'm like, holy cow, this actually does. I hate the idea of an earworm, but apparently it works. And so, it's catchy, it's silly, intentionally. I don't think if you take yourself too seriously, that's probably the best approach. What do you think about that, Cary?
I guess the only thing I would disagree is you can't be a jingle writer and hate earworms because we create them. It's our job. Now, it's so interesting too because one of the things, first of all, it's amazing that she was able to sing all those lyrics, the full sing, because I will tell you that probably 95% of jingles, it's that open and close that people hear and remember.
Right.
But the fact that they remember all the lyrics is a testament to the cleverness and catchiness of that. I mean, I didn't hear the music, but definitely in my mind, I could sort of imagine what the music behind that was. And, it's really about, I think the most important thing, honestly, to getting an earworm is the consistency and the frequency of it. Just playing, that piece over and over again. A lot of times, if someone says I want something upbeat and catchy, or I want something maybe not as upbeat, and some of the most iconic jingles of all time are soft ballads. I mean, if you think about, even Barry's favorite, famous, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. I mean, it's a soft ballad, but we've heard it for 40, 50 years. We remember it. And that's kind of part of the key. Now, sometimes they play around with it and do different things with it to pay homage to the actual theme. But I think you want something that, to your point, is catchy and memorable. And she should not sell herself short on her vocal talent.
Well, thank you again, Linda, for calling in. Now, Cary, you are going to be our something of a guinea pig. We're trying something new this hour. We have contracted you for the high price of $0 to write us a jingle for Vermont Edition during today's show. We'll say goodbye to you a little bit later in the hour, and then you'll pop back on at the end and sing us, hopefully, the jingle that you've been working on. We've kind of sent you some information already on what we're looking for. But have you ever written anything this quickly before in this format?
So yes, in fact, I mean that's one of my unique I think abilities. And full disclosure, when I am working with clients in their local communities, which is very different than if I'm talking to a national client. But a lot of my work, and it's a part of the industry that I guess fell into, for lack of a better word, 40 years ago. It's hard to believe it was 40 years. I left my prior work on April 1st in 1985 because just in case I changed my mind, I wanted to be able to go back and say April Fools. But 40 years later, and the niche that I lived in for many, many, many years, still occasionally do, is that I would go as a partner to media companies, and we would travel around the country, and I would spend 2 or 3 days in a conference room, much like what I did when I met Pizza Putt. And what we would do is we would bring with us music from that we've produced and recorded and had part of our library, for lack of a better word. I don't love the word because it conjures up just kind of quote unquote can, but they're really not. They were all recorded and produced for a particular style feel. But then what we do is we license it in a individual market and exclusively to that market. So you might hear something there in Burlington that would be playing in Sacramento or in Michigan, Detroit, just the music. And so the answer to your question is every day. That is what I do is we sit down and we have, ideally like you did, provided a little bit of information ahead of time. I review that information with the client, and they literally go on a tour of the station, and 30 minutes later they come in and I sing their jingle to them.
Well, we're very excited to hear what you have come up with later this hour.
Well,
We have to
I hope you like.
Oh, I'm sure we will like it.
So, and again, I guess, I don't know, because clearly I got some information, and I don't know if there's anything that you felt you needed to add or want to include, but my understanding was basically this is, the show name, you being the host is important, and really what you guys think of yourselves as. So I think from that standpoint, I've kind of, I think, gotten the gist of it, and my understanding a little more upbeat, maybe, kind of adult contemporary pop, somewhere not so stuffy, but
can
something.
Can we get the phone number in there too? I have to say that phone number a lot.
Well, potentially.
If that's a stretch, that is okay. Again, we are paying you $0 to do this. So,
well, I think it's less about that, but let me hold on. So, I'm gonna write.
We're gonna let you work for a little bit because we have to take a break. This is good time, Jim. I also want to hear more about your process when we come back. Before we break, though, let's play the jingle for another local business, Water Slide World, which is a favorite of my colleague Katie Miller.
Water Slide World, the #1 in family fun.
Fun, you bet.
I'm on a baby, gonna slide, slide, slide. Come on, a baby, gonna glide, glide, glide. Come on, a baby, gonna slide, slide, slide. Away, gonna glide down, fly high, whirl around, touch the sky. Water Slide World, I really love the way you feel.
This is Vermont Edition. Stay with us.
Thanks for listening to Vermont Edition, where support comes from Wendell's Furniture, home of wendellsdeals.com, offering furniture designed for a range of budgets, in stock and ready for summer. wendellsdeals.com. And Vermont Construction's Roofing Division, offering roof installation and repair with free estimates on asphalt and standing seam metal roofs. Now serving all of Vermont and northern New York. More at vtroofing.com.
My name is Eric Post. I'm from Essex, Vermont, and I remember from, my gosh, probably 3-4 decades ago, the old Vermont ETV jingle. It goes a little something like this. TV worth watching, Vermont ETV.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Welcome back to Vermont Edition. I'm Michaela Lafrac. Today, we are celebrating the local jingle. That one you just heard was recorded by our managing producer, John Ahrens, who grew up in a very jingle-forward household. His dad, Art, was a well-known jingle writer in the D.C. metro area. Art passed away in 2022, and this show is, in large part, a tribute to John's dad. He wrote a jingle that I actually grew up listening to for the D.C. area chain Jerry's Subs and Pizza. Let's listen.
If you're tired of chicken or a patty on a bun,
'Cause Mac, Roy, and Bob just aren't any fun. You want Jerry's.
ooh, Jerry's. Philly steak and cheese,
Famous super subs.
perfect pizza too.
All the food you love.
It's Jerry's. Ooh, Jerry's. Ooh, Jerry's. You want Jerry's.
I mean, they make a great sub. Our guests this hour are Jim Giberty, the president and creative director of the Imagination Company in Bethel, and Cary Reich, a Florida-based jingle writer and the owner of Sound Branding Ideas. He's written a number of jingles for businesses in our region. Let's go to the phones now. We have John calling in from Montreal. John, is this conversation conjuring up any jingles for you?
Yeah, especially probably the most successful one in history, because it became a huge hit for the Carpenters. Remember the Carpenters?
Yeah.
Maybe you're not old enough.
I know them.
They sang, yeah. And the song that I'm talking about is "We've Only Just Begun," which was originally a jingle for a bank in California. The Crocker, I think it's called the Crocker Citizens National Bank.
Huh.
And it was co-written by Paul Williams, who was a very well-known songwriter. But they wrote it for the bank, and it just made its way to the ears of Richard Carpenter, the brother and the Carpenters. It became a huge hit for the Carpenters.
John, excuse me, would you be willing to sing it for us?
We've only just begun.
Thank
and I
you.
can't remember the rest of the lyrics. To dream or something like that.
That was perfect.
Thanks.
Well, thank you so much, John. Jim Giberty, do you know this song or examples of other songs that have kind of crossed over from Jingle Land into like actual radio hits?
That I don't know. I will say, first of all, thank you for not asking me to write a jingle on the spot. And my chops are a little bit rusty. But I do want to say regarding Cary, I'm looking forward to hearing the rhyme for either Michaela or Lefrak.
Yeah, good luck with that.
I'm all over it.
It's the name equivalent of the word orange.
I think that Cary's point though about most of what we did were donuts is what we called them. So you had the lead and you had the outro, and then the voiceover was delivering the message and the sale for the client. And going back to that Lobster Claw, Don Berrig, who brought me in for that very first jingle, he wouldn't let anyone else do that. For the next 35 years, no matter what we did with the Imagination Company, my partner Kristen would come to me every start of the summer and say, "We've heard from Don Berrig, the prices changed on lobster bisque," and I'd get the new script, and only I could read the donut. They closed also 4 years ago, I think. But for 35 years, I was the donut guy too.
Donut guy, I love it.
What a proud title to wear.
Donut guy, I like it.
Let's go next to Bobby in Colchester. Bobby, what jingles are coming up for you?
Oh my gosh, the Forest Hills Factory Outlet.
What's it sound like?
It was in Winooski. All right, you ready for me to sing it? Here
ready.
We go. Forest Hills Factory Outlet Store. That's where your dollars buy so much more. Open every evening and the parking free. And there was more, but that's all I remember.
That was great. Well done. Thank you so much for...
We're taking notes on new talent available.
I know, right? We got some good singers out here. So it's interesting, Bobby, that you bring up the Forest Hills Factory Outlet, because I feel like a lot of businesses that we heard about in the lead up for today's show were similar to that. Some sort of like outlet store, furniture, mattresses, that kind of vibe. Let's play a clip now from Wendell's Furniture. This is by our guest, Cary Reich. And I do want to note before we play it that Wendell's is a Vermont public underwriter, but we are playing this ad not for promotional reasons, but for editorial reasons alone. Let's listen.
Well, the little guy with a great big store. So now we can offer you so much more. Come to Wendell's. We make deals. Wendell's Furniture.
Cary, what do you remember about that song?
I just the again kind of they wanted a little sort of an upbeat, and we make deals. I think the messaging to like the I guess the outlet you were just your guest was just singing, just to let people know that you're going to get good deals here, and yeah, it was kind of again more of that upbeat pop type of feel and vibe, and it reminds me because that Randy was the vocalist on that. She's a great singer out of Orlando. Yeah.
Do
It's fun
either of
to
you ever get
reminisce.
recommendations for jingles that are not upbeat, like a dour jingle?
Sure. Well, dour, no. But like I just did a piece last week for an attorney who did not want that crazy upbeat. There seems to be a
Sure.
proliferation of people buying vanity phone numbers and singing them, and in almost as obnoxious a way as you can
Oh,
to get them memorable. And this was a gentleman who actually came to the meeting. His agency introduced us and said, "Not really sure we want a jingle, but open to listening." And so we played something much more feel of the heartland. He's in Wisconsin, and it just felt like something. It wasn't down home, but it was not too crazy upbeat. It was just more sincere. It
mm,
was real connection, real results. His line that he wanted to, and I just kind of showed him how to take that and make it memorable by putting it to music. So
yeah.
I think that's the key. If it's okay, I want to go back 2 questions ago because you had asked about iconic or songs, if you will. So certainly, I'd like to teach the world to sing. Was one of the most famous songs turned jingle for Coca-Cola, of course. But just the opposite. I don't know if you know this, but little trivia. If I start singing "When the Lights Go Down on the City," okay, we know that song. That song was actually written originally to be a theme for a TV station in San Francisco that did not become a theme for the TV station in San Francisco, and they turned it into a mega hit. So,
Wow. Fun fact. I bet you have a lot of those stored up, Cary.
yeah, try,
Well,
try to keep a
here's
few.
a fun fact for you. We have Ryan from Wendell's Furniture calling in with, I believe, a story about this commercial. Ryan, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, thanks for taking my call. Cary, I don't think I've ever met you, but my dad certainly did.
Right.
So the story that I've been told is by Joanne Sear, who was our Channel 5 rep at the time. And
Correct.
she came down to the store and she said, "Wendell, you got to come meet this guy. He's really good at what he does." And Wendell was in cutoff jeans, painting 6 feet up on a ladder, covered in paint, and said, "Joanne, I don't have time for this." And she said, "Wendell, just come and listen." And he liked Joanne, and he knew that she was good at what she does. So as a courtesy, he said, "Fine, I'm going, but I'm not buying anything." And he goes up there, and he told you about 3 lines of what he wanted. And according to both Joanne and Wendell, you went into another room, came back 15 minutes later, and you had worked everything in exactly the way we hear it now, and he bought. And interestingly, Joanne went on to have other careers in radio, but she's now my Vermont public rep because I am an underwriter, and it's just so much fun that it's such a small world, I guess, is what it boils down to.
Well, Ryan, thank you so much for calling in. Cary, what's it like to hear
Thank
from
you.
Ryan?
No, that was awesome. I appreciate the story, and it just goes to show for all the forgive me for the plug, but for all the media reps that are afraid to ask their clients to bring them in to hear something that could be very magical, don't be afraid to ask, because look what could happen.
Jim, do you ever hear from clients in that way who say, this is how this this jingle affected our business?
I don't, because it's I hate to say that Cary, I'm impressed, is still actively doing jingle work. So it's more historic for me. I think I don't know if you have the Barbo's jingle,
Oh,
but
we
that's
don't.
and I don't think the TV 31 made it because of sound issues, I'm guessing.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yeah. I know you sent us a couple. We couldn't quite get them up to radio
but
quality yet.
Well, the the TV-31 was basically rescued from a burning dumpster, and it was I've got to have Vermont stuff. Literally all of our jingles never made it beyond the move to our new facilities, and they were all on 5-inch reel-to-reel and master reel. So they're stored in our horse barns and things up in the haylofts. But the TV-31, going back to the idea of donuts, I loved doing that work, doing station ID work and affiliate work. There's something special about this place. Every road that you walk, every smile on every face, and that was a TV-31, and they were full sings. So you'd have a 60-second version and a 30-second version, whatnot. And that was getting back to what I love to do, which was songwriting, and then I always would bring in the different people I played with and toured with, doing music. And like I said, unfortunately, the only way that could be found, one of our people found it on YouTube, a 1990s YouTube video, extracted the audio from it, and I sent to John Ahrens, and he said, I don't know if this is going to make it. I said, I know it sounds like a dumpster fire, but it was it was a wonderful piece, and that's one that I'm guessing Vermonters could remember. The close to home was what it was. TV-31.
Oh wow! Well, I'm so glad to hear that these still exist, even if they're in older forms of physical media. They're out there in a horse barn somewhere, Jim.
Well, I was so impressed with John's dad's work, because I know that when he passed away, John went and pulled us all together. If you go to the website that John sent me, it's literally, I was so impressed, I was humbled by it. And that's the shame from my standpoint, of moving forward with the Imagination Company, everything we did, and never getting all of that work archived digitally, because now it's in the barns.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your memories from your career writing jingles. It's been so fun sharing some of these examples with our listeners, who I'm sure are having lots of their own memories right now. Jim Giberty is the president and creative director of the Imagination Company in Bethel. Jim, thank you.
Thanks so much, Michaela.
And Cary, we're going to send you off to write for a little bit, and we'll talk to you again at the very end of the hour. Cary Reich is with Sound Branding Ideas. Let's play a couple more jingles, though, before we go to break. We got an email from Kate in South Hero, who writes, in the early 1980s, my sister, cousins, and I were recorded singing a jingle for Rosie's Restaurant in Middlebury. I remember the thrill when hearing the jingle come on the radio when I was in the car or at the dentist. We can sing it to this day. And here is a voice memo of Kate singing it.
You can get anything you want at Rosie's Restaurant. The food is great, you'll get all you want. At Rosie's Restaurant, you'll dance up a jig when you see the door, 'cause there's yummy stuff to eat and a whole lot more. You'll even have a ball making a telephone call at Rosie's Restaurant.
All right, we're going to take that break now. This is Vermont Edition. Stay with us. Welcome back to Vermont Edition. I'm Michaela Lefrak. If you are just joining us, today we are filling our heads with the catchiest earworms around, local jingles. We just got this email from Beverly in Chester, who says that she is 76 years old, and when she was about 5, there was a carpet cleaning company with this jingle. And apologies, Beverly, I don't know the tune, so I'm just going to say it. How many cookies did Andrew eat? Andrew ate 8,000. If you want your carpets cleaned, call ANDREW 8,000. And Beverly says, my 79-year-old sister can sing it along with me. Now, if there's a jingle that is stuck in your head after this hour of conversation about them, give us a call and sing it for us at 800-639-2211. I'm going to introduce our next guest with one of the jingles that she wrote. This was written for the Snowsville General Store in Braintree, Vermont.
Follow me down to the Snowsville store. You'll find just what you want. There's everything that you will need for life here in Vermont. Any time of year at all, you can find what you're looking for. Just follow me down to Snowsville General Store. Mm-hmm.
That beautiful jingle was written by our guest, Daisy Nell, who joins us now from Massachusetts. Daisy, welcome.
Hi, how are you?
Good. We're so glad to have you with us. What was it like to get a call from us asking you to talk about jingle writing?
It was like entering the Twilight Zone. I think I wrote that song. I did write it in 1979. So that's 47 years ago by my math. And I was blown away, but I did have an inkling that it was still around because somebody wrote to me last year, found me on Facebook and said that she used to love going to the dump on Saturday mornings with her father and hearing this ad on the radio. So there you have. I've made my mark.
What do you remember about writing this specific song? I mean, we've heard a lot of very schmaltzy songs over the course of this hour, and this one's different. It's quite lovely.
Well, thank you. What I remember about it was also what I remember about the store itself. The people who owned it back then had moved here, Vermont, to Snowsville, which is really East Braintree, Vermont. And they had a good old-fashioned country store that literally you could go in and buy blue jeans, or you could buy a gun, or you could buy ammunition, or you could buy a bag of Fritos. I think I ended up putting about all those things in the actual song. But the owner, a man named Shell Kimball, who's since passed on, asked me if I would write a jingle for the store, which had, it never even crossed my mind that I would write a jingle, but I was sort of known in my family as being the one who would write a novelty song or some kind of a parody of something. And of course, I had recently recorded the Tunbridge Fair Beer Hall Blues, and that had gotten some radio play on WCVR in Randolph.
Mm. Yes. Can you tell us a bit about that one, the Tunbridge Fair Beer Hall Blues?
Well, the Tunbridge Fair, I think I've heard that it's gotten a little bit tamer now, but there was
just
a time
wee bit.
when
It did have a reputation for a while there.
It did, and I moved up to Randolph Center from Massachusetts, and I had grown up on a farm. My father was involved with the Topsfield Fair, so I knew about country fairs, and I was curious about the Tunbridge Fair, but I was not prepared for what was known as the Beer Hall, which was right across the dirt road from part of the fairgrounds known as the Girly Show.
Mm-hmm.
So it was very different, but it was very popular. And so I thought of the stories that must come out of people's experiences at the fair went far beyond the horse pulling and the judging of the baby rabbits, but it went on also to describe a forgettable or unforgettable weekend. So I wrote it.
That's amazing. Well, let's go to the phones here. We have a lot of folks calling in with memories of jingles from our region. Deb in Burlington is on the line. Deb, go ahead.
Hi. I was just calling to say that there was a period of time back in the late 80s, I believe it was, that colleges were trying all these innovative, quote, marketing techniques. And I was the assistant director of marketing at Champlain College. And the director really liked the idea of having a jingle to promote the college. And I think it lived for maybe a year, but I remember it very well. And it went, Champlain College, and then the little echo, Champlain College, we'll show you the road to your future. I don't know if anybody remembers that, but
Deb, people certainly do remember that because that was one of the jingles that we worked into this very goofy promotional ad for this show that we created that's on our Vermont Public Instagram. You can see my very talented colleague, James Stewart, performing a number of local jingles on the piano, including the one for Champlain College. So thank you so much for bringing it up for us. Let's go next to Tom in Woodstock. Tom, go ahead.
Hi, I grew up with my father singing the Rheingold beer song as a lullaby.
Do you remember how it goes?
Certainly. My beer is Rheingold, the dry beer. Think of Rheingold whenever you buy beer.
Beer.
not sweet. It's the dry flavored treat. Won't you try extra dry Rheingold beer? Boom, boom.
That is actually a very lovely lullaby if you don't know what the words mean. Tom, thank you so much for sharing that. And Daisy, our guest, it sounds like you know that one too.
Oh yes, we grew up. I grew up in Massachusetts, where I live now, and the radio was always playing in the barn, and the radio ads were something that we would drive our parents crazy singing. The one that my parents hated the most was the ad for Adventure Car Hop, which was on a program on WBZ Radio, brought to you by the one and only Arnie Ginsberg, and everybody hated that song, but they loved to hate it, and we would love to sing it to our parents.
Oh, that's beautiful. Daisy, when you were first described to me by our producer, John Ahrens, he called you an accidental jingle writer.
Right.
Why?
Well, actually, I'm honored to be on today because I really just fell into this jingle writing. I've written a few since then. I wrote one for a whale watching company in Gloucester, and I wrote one for my husband's business here in Massachusetts, good old Gaybrook Garage, and and so but that's really just I did them as a favor, really, and out of the love of it. And the people that owned the Snowsville store asked me if I'd write a jingle, and it had never occurred to me in a million years that I would do that. But I went home and did it. It sort of wrote itself. And I just was really lucky that what came out was something that I liked, and it's actually a whole song. And the Kimballs had me out there to the store a few times to sit down and play by the pot-bellied stove, and I'd include that song along with it, other songs that I would sing that day. But I never set out to be a jingle writer. I am a songwriter and a children's book author, but I've specialized mostly in American and probably British Isles music, folk music, traditional music, and folk dancing.
Well, you mentioned the Gaybrook Garage jingle that you wrote. This is from 2002, and we have a clip of it here. The garage is in Essex, Mass., and it is by our guest, Daisy Nell, who worked at the garage for a time, too.
It's Gaybrook time every day. Fill her up, fix her up, and drive her away. Come on down, and you can say, fill her up, fix her up, and drive her away. I've been many a mile in my old car, hope to go many more. Oh, the guys down at Gaybrook, why they keep her well cared for. The spark plugs spark, the engine runs good, and everything is humming right under the hood. It's Gaybrook time every day. Fill her up, fix her up, and drive her away. Yeah, Gaybrook time every day.
That's beautiful. It's such a fun one, too.
You know, a local guy did the voiceover who happened to be the brother of the voice of the, at that point, deceased voice of Bert and I in the Down East stories. Fred Dodge lived in a nearby town in Manchester, Massachusetts, and he did the voiceover, so he would sort of use that Down East accent to invite people to tool on over to Gaybrook Garage.
Daisy, I have so many more questions for you, but unfortunately we are going to have to let you go for now. Daisy Nell is a self-described accidental jingle writer, but clearly a professional, joining us from Massachusetts. Daisy, thank you so much for your time.
Well, thank you for having me, and I appreciate you having me on with people who have really been in this as a profession, and I thought their work was awesome. So thank you so much.
Well, let's hear more from our listeners and the jingles that have wormed their way into your brains over the years. We'll go first to Jay in Hyde Park. Jay, go ahead.
Hi, yes. The jingle that I love, I worked at Yellow Turtle and Stove for 25 years with my dear friend and boss, Lisa. She reached out to some television, I think it was CAX. And anyway, they did this whole advertising jingle for us, and it's people would come in and say, I know that jingle. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
2, 4, 6, 8. Who do we appreciate? Yellow Turtle. School clothes for classy kids. Yellow Turtle. and it repeated and added more. And we used to play it on the Point radio station a lot when we do our advertising.
That's awesome.
And I think even now they still use parts of it.
Cool clothes for classy kids. I love that. Jay, thank you so much. I'm going to try to squeeze in a couple more folks here. Katie is in East Fairfield. Katie, go ahead.
Hi. Well, the jingle I'm going to do is back in the 60s when I lived outside of Boston. We were a college group of folk singers, and Prince Spaghetti Company found us and said, "Oh, we want you to be the Prince Spaghetti Minstrels." and so we did. We sang the jingles of, it went something like this. Prince Spaghetti, oh my babe, oh my lady fair, how about a plate of Prince Spaghetti right now? I can still hear that thing going.
That was beautiful, Katie. That's amazing. That's stuck in your mind all these years. And Prince Spaghetti, that's the big time. Well, thank you so much for calling in. Let's go now to Jerry in Burlington. Jerry, I have been forewarned that you have made up a jingle for Vermont Edition. Is it true?
Yes. It's a quick one, but I hope you like it.
Oh, I'm very excited.
Okay, here you go. You're gonna wanna come back to hear Kayla LaFrac on Vermont Edition, yeah. 800-639-2211. There you go.
I love it. Jerry, what inspired your work?
Over the years, use Ajax, boom, boom, the Blue Dog Cleanser. Yeah, I mean, all those types of commercials and jingles are, they're an American heritage. They're great.
Well, Jerry, thank you so much. That brought a smile to my face. We loved it here. And about 20 minutes ago, we sent off jingle writer Cary Reich to write us a jingle for Vermont Edition, just like Jerry just did. He's been plugging away, and I am so curious to hear what he's written. Cary, are you with us?
I am. Can you hear me?
I can, yes.
Okay. Quick question, because I realized you asked me about the number, and I never wrote it down.
Oh, that would have been helpful.
But I only heard it once, so you'll have to. So it's 800. What's the rest of it?
639-2211.
Okay. So I had a line where that would fit, but I can replace that line with the phone number, I believe.
Up to you. You do your best work.
Okay,
Don't listen to this client. I'm so needy.
Always listen. You got to understand. You always listen to the client. Client is always right, and except when they're not.
All right, let's hear it.
All right, here we go. Hopefully you can hear it. I'm going to play the music and sing along. This is what we call a 30-second full sing. If you want, I can always go back and show you what an actual intro and outro. I know we talked about that before, but so here it goes. Vermont Edition with Michaela LaFrac, a radio town hall for Vermonters. On Vermont Edition, it's our guiding mission to provide Vermonters their say, sharing news and views and interviews from leaders that matter to Vermonters today. 1-800-639-2211. Vermont Edition with Michaela LaFrac, a radio town hall for Vermonters. Tune in.
That was amazing.
I screwed up because the other line I didn't practice that 800.
We're gonna get you. We're gonna get an official recording of this, Cary. I love it so much. Thank you for being game to do this for us and for telling us all about your work.
Well, thank you for having me, and I apologize for not rhyming Michaela or LaFrac. I could have, but I liked the idea, and it was really. When you and John were sharing that, we kind of think of ourselves as a radio town hall, and I'm like, that's great. Let's make that the hook.
I love that. Yeah, much better than a LaFrac attack or something that I've been plagued with my entire life. So thank you for sparing us that. Cary Reich, jingle writer extraordinaire. He's based in Florida, but has written many a jingle for businesses in our region. Cary, thank you again.
Thank you for having me.
All right, that is all the time that we have for today's show. That was so much fun. Thank you to everyone who called and sang with us, even if your voice is a little scratchy, just like mine is. Today's show was directed by Aaliyah Papes. John Ahrens is our managing producer, and as you've heard, the mastermind behind this show was inspired by his dad, Art, who was a jingle writer. Andrea Lorian and Daniela Fierro are our producers. Our intern is Callie Canuxerl. Our call screener is Rick Barrett, and our theme music is by Myra Flynn. I'm Michaela Lafrac. Thank you so much for listening, and we will catch up again soon.
These days, there's so much news, it can be hard to keep up with what it all means for you, your family, and your community. The Consider This podcast from NPR features our award-winning journalism. 6 days a week, we bring you a deep dive on a news story and provide the context and analysis that helps you make sense of the news. We get behind the headlines. We get to the truth. Listen to the Consider This podcast from NPR.